I'm here with a new friend of mine, Toby Saunders, lab coordinator in the biology program, but a lab coordinator perhaps with a slightly different or unique background. Toby, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Indeed, yeah, thanks for having me, Chad. I studied pre-medical illustration here at the University of West Georgia. And so I have this interesting little hybrid education. Yeah, I wanted to be a medical illustrator. That's super competitive. And it's not that I'm no good at drawing, but it was like 7 out of 50 people getting in. I got an interview, but I couldn't get into the program. So I thought maybe I'll become a nurse, and then, life happens. And I have loved biology for so long, and I got into the master's program here. And then I found that I liked teaching. I love teaching, and here I am. And so that's how I ended up here.
So your undergraduate degree was a BA in art from the University of West Georgia?
Indeed.
Right. And now you find yourself teaching biology and coordinating a lab. So
yeah,
does the art have a role in what you're doing?
It really does, yeah. I've shared some images with you. I don't know if you're going to overlay those at some point, but it does, because when you're teaching, particularly anatomy and physiology, which was what I studied as an undergrad, what I focused on, this medical stuff, it's so three-dimensional, and it's so visual, a lot of it, particularly the anatomy. And it's useful for me to put that on the board, spend a bit of time and put that on the board, and then use that as a teaching tool. And yeah, I don't think I could do that so easily without spending so much time practicing drawing and painting.
Yeah, and what are the students in the lab, like, are they taken aback at all by that when you just sort of fairly nonchalantly create the interior of a human body? Or
I hate, well, I do it before lab, so I have enough time to do it, but I definitely get compliments, and they like it, and so that's good. During lockdown, suddenly we're having to do online teaching. I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. What's going on? Well, I did videos for my students, and some of my artistic background probably came in with that, where there's this expressive quality where I'm wearing silly outfits and I'm doing little skits and this kind of thing.
I'm reaching out to my Principles of Biology 2 students. If you can hear me, I want you to tap 3 times.
And I've got so many compliments over that. I just saw someone, was it yesterday, this week, said she was a previous student of mine. So that's probably influenced some of my teaching.
Now that I have your attention, there are a number of pre-zygotic isolating mechanisms.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because we sometimes think of this now that we're a big college again, right? We've got biology, we've got the hard sciences, social sciences, humanities, arts all together again, one big happy family. And we still like to think, I think, of things like STEAM, right? The STEAM initiative to ensure that students have enough background in the arts and the humanities with their science degrees, that the science degree is enriched and enhanced by a basis in humanities and arts. And we feel like that is like somehow cutting edge, but yet in another way, you're just participating in something that, as you said it earlier, is as old as Da Vinci, and much older, obviously, but
sure.
His scientific drawings, right? Or Audubon, or any of these great illustrators.
Right. Well, this is the tradition of the liberal arts university, isn't it? We're not necessarily just training people to do one particular job. We want to give them a broad scope of important topics, right? And while science is the pursuit of truth, finding out what's true, art it's more of a communicative thing, right? It's more to do with expression. And then if you're teaching science and you are communicating things, there's art in that. And so I don't think that the two are as different as some people may think at a glance.
Yeah. So I guess what we're waiting for is a bunch of biology students to come take creative writing classes and studio art classes, right? Theater classes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I tell you, I was in a comparative physiology class, and we actually went over to your poetry class once. We sat in on that, you got a laugh out of me, I'll say. You were giving examples of how we should write poetry. You want down-to-earth language, not highfalutin technical stuff. And you said, well, you think of it like if someone's going to assault someone, they're not going to say, I'm going to fracture your cranium. And I'm just like, yeah, that's quite funny. And you say, I'm going to crack your skull. So yeah, we've spent, I know some biology students have spent some time over there. You know, I don't want any artists to go thinking that science is the enemy of creativity.
No. And in fact, I mean, I think you're a product of that program, right? The arts program. And I'm thinking of other people here, even in our university, right? Like thinking of you, I thought instantly of Christopher Tabbitt in biology, who is constantly participating in pores, iron pores over at the art department, or program. He's very much invested in that, as is Ben DeMeo. I mean, you've seen some of Ben DeMeo's, the physicist, his sculptures over there, the fantastic.
Yeah, I know him too, yeah.
And then I'm also thinking of the social sciences. We have in a writing group that I participate in, Sal Peralta is a political scientist, but he's also writing a memoir of his time growing up in Nicaragua during the Sandinista Revolution. So, these, as you say, these borders are much more porous than perhaps we think, and then perhaps even the public might think, right? And so you're a great model of this kind of idea of, the interconnectivity of all these different ways.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. Someone else you might want to check out is Heidi Banford over here in the biology program. Her name is Heidi Banford, and she's got an eye for illustration. She's a fish person, a fish woman, if you will. She's just an expert on fish, and she wants to find out what fish species are here in the local streams and rivers, and then illustrate them. So, like you said,
you may have just voluntold her to do it the next episode with me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll mention that to her perhaps.
All right. Well, hey, Toby, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.